Woohoo! I am so excited for this next session. It's actually going to, it's awesome being able to sort of see into people's lives and where they are at home. And I'm literally so pumped to see, for you guys to see where Maddie is joining us is from. But before we actually go into that, I'd love to give you an introduction about our next session. So Maddie is actually, this is a mentor session actually. So Maddie is going to be going through which skills you need if you want to work in the advertising industry. So just a little bit about Maddie before we go. With over the last 10 years, Maddie has been working in the advertising industry within creative and media agencies. In her current role as the Content and Partnerships Director at Mediacom, Maddie has project-led content strategy, production, distribution for her clients, as well as brand partnerships. Getting under the skin of brands like KFC, eBay, Uber, like who hasn't heard of Uber? Maddie is proud of the relationships that she's built with her clients and was rewarded for her business results as she won the 2017 B&T 30 Under 30 Awards, which is insane. So outside of the office, though, Maddie is super passionate about film and fitness and food, and is currently obsessed with loads of podcasts and loads of support that she'll be able to share with you guys today. So Maddie, welcome to CareerCon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I was such a warm welcome. Thank you.
Oh no, you're welcome. You're welcome. We'll just get started into this awesome Q&A because we have some great questions to ask you. In particular, how you got to where you got to, but also to sort of do a deep dive into the industry that you're in. Cast your mind back, a couple of years to your time at high school, and can you just give us a bit of foundation for this talk? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, where you studied, and how that got you onto the course that you're on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after 12 years, I think any memories that I had of, stressful exams and assignments have slowly disappeared. And I think, I only remember the good people that I've met, and some of which are still my best friends today, which is really nice. So I think it was really interesting to reflect on this. And I think that what shaped me the most was actually some of the fierce female leaders that I had at school. And, just having that strong influence from such a young age was really beneficial for me. That included our principal. She kind of started the school from scratch. So, I spent my grade 1 in the back of a horse stable until she kind of set up the school. So, that was pretty amazing. Yeah, it kind of evolved over the years to be an amazing campus now. But, going through that journey to have her right by my side was amazing. And we also had a really great grade 4 teacher as well. She taught us things that were outside our curriculum. So, advanced algebra and memorizing Shakespeare and crazy stuff you would never expect year 4s to do. But I think we absolutely loved it as kids. And, it was not only great learning those skills, but I think what I took from her is never underestimating our ability. And, she saw out the potential that we couldn't see in ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you sort of went through in high school kind of, it was perfect lead into our next question, which is all about universities. So I know that you did actually go to uni. So can you sort of take us through that time? What made you actually pick what you picked? And do you think it's actually relevant to study further education to get into the industry that you're in?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to Annalise from Facebook earlier in the day, and I completely agree with her. I think in our industry, you don't necessarily need a degree to succeed. And interestingly, what I've noticed is more and more companies are encouraging, not to have a degree as a mandatory, as a requirement to apply for a job. And it's great because we're just, encouraging diversity and understanding that not everyone has that opportunity to go to the university. So I think my personal experience studying marketing gave me a really solid foundation in advertising. So I think for me, it worked out really well. And from that point of view, I'd highly recommend, if you want to get into marketing advertising, having some sort of tertiary education really can set you up for success. But also not just from like what you learn there, it's more so the experiences that it affords you. I think one thing that I didn't know about going into the course that I did when I studied business marketing was in my final year we actually there was like an internship elective, so you could actually use one of your electives to go out and intern and get some experience in the industry that you wanted to pursue. So they do really encourage you to do that and really reflect on what you learn from working in the industry. And through that, I actually got my first job. So yeah, that really helped me. And I think the second thing that I didn't know going into uni was all the additional, like that the universities have great connections globally. I was really lucky enough to go on exchange to Norway in my final year and for a few months over summer, and it was just incredible, to kind of experience different culture and really, like, to be honest, I came back to Australia and it really pushed me like to move out of home and move down to Sydney and start my career here from Brisbane. So and it's been my home ever since. So I think my own advice there going to uni is just, it's really up to you to kind of go and seek those opportunities out that the university has to offer. Not only, like, obviously it's a bit tricky to travel at the moment, but like they offer a lot of extracurricular activities and clubs you can join that can really help you build relationships with people in the industry as well.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's great. I mean, it must have been a bit daunting, moving from another state to another state that you've never been in. That's awesome. Just a quick question in regards to your time at high school. So when you were there, did you actually know that you wanted to work within the industry that you're in now?
Absolutely not. It was actually I definitely wasn't the type of person growing up to listen to my parents. Like, I was always trying to carve my own course. But it was funny enough, it was actually Dad's influence. Like, he said to me, here's a food technologist randomly, and he said, it's always the marketing team that are always having the fun. And he's like, I think you'd be really good at that, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I was considering being like a psychologist or a teacher, or there's a million things I wanted to do, and it's if you feel like you have the world on your shoulders, a lot of pressure to decide. And I think the one good decision was listening to the advice of people that that were in my life around me and can kind of identify what my skills were and where they think I should be based on their own experiences. So I think it's just, not only your family, but go out and talk to people and get second opinions on where you think, where they see you, because I think, it can be quite overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that kind of leads into, our next question, because I guess, sometimes when you're in the thick of it and you are a student and you are trying to get, you're trying to nail your exams, even in this current climate, you're trying to work out what the hell you want to do when you cannot go anywhere. And I think sometimes asking an independent person what they believe you're good at is, like what your dad did is, is really helpful, because sometimes you can't see it yourself,
Yeah, absolutely.
So our next question, a big part of this event is to really discuss skills and, the skills that you kind of need, to do what you want to do, but also skills that can kind of take you from one career choice and one job to another. Because let's be honest, like, the straight linear path is bullshit. Like, it's not around anymore. It's not what we aspire to have. So, can you take us through some skills that you think that students need to get into your industry? And then I would love to know what you think your best skill is too.
Awesome. Yeah, I was really excited to answer this one, because I think it was advice that I wish I had at the time. And I think it's only things that I've learned from working, essentially, that along the way. So I think what I've become to understand is, there's so many different facets and sectors within advertising. Like, you have your creative agencies, you've got media, PR, production, events, clients. The list goes on. So, within these different sectors, there's lots of different types of roles and skill sets across the sectors, and a lot that people, wouldn't necessarily see as being in advertising, which is quite interesting. And I think growing up, like at school and uni, I always, was felt that my best skill set was more in project management, and I did want to do something a bit more creative, but it was more so in that sort of like organisation and working with people that I felt like I really was a natural skill set that came to me at the time. And I think that's only got developed over the years, because I've been fortunate enough to work in a few different sectors within the industry, and in my current role managing a lot of stakeholders, I think having that empathy and with the other stakeholders that I work with, because I've walked in their shoes, really helps with the project management side of things as well. And I think, across the industry, there's so many transferable skills. Like myself, I've come from, I did an internship in client side and then went to create a few creative agencies, and now I've been in media the last 5 years. Which the agencies do quite different things, but because of those transferable skills that I've managed to get, you can move to different areas to really find where you feel like your passion points are. And I think in terms of actual skills, so I think interestingly, if we just to focus on a creative agency, for example, if you're a really good project manager, you can look to apply for roles like account service or a producer, which deals with production and suppliers. If you're a really good researcher, and problem solver, there's strategy roles that you could apply for, and you learn a lot of those skills at uni, to how to research really well. And then from a creative point of view, I myself never thought I was that creative, in terms of coming up with ideas. So you don't necessarily have to be good at doing that to get in the industry, because there's roles like I'm in more of a project management role, for example, but also usually in the creative agencies, they pair art directors and copywriters up together. So if you're really good at design, you could, look for art director or designer roles, or copywriter. You could, if you're good with words, there's those sort of roles for you as well. So lots of stuff that, I didn't really know until I started working in agencies.
Well, so let's sort of dive into now, your current role, because, I think too, one of the trickiest things is that we have so many people, there's so many people that want to work within this kind of creative industry, advertising, marketing, PR, what exactly does your title mean? Can you unpack that for us and maybe give us an example of what you do in your day-to-day job?
Yeah, absolutely. So my actual title is Content Partnerships Director. I work for a company called Maddy Cunich. And essentially, traditionally, media agencies buy and plan media for brands, essentially. So, but I'm a little bit more in the sponsorship space, essentially. So I think the company itself, there's an office in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, but it's a global company. There's 125 offices globally. But I'm actually in a similar space to Michelle, who is from Medibank, that was speaking up first thing this morning. But from a different perspective, she works client side, but I work at the agency. So it was super interesting listening to her. And what it's like on the other side of the coin. But I guess the main difference is, so say if Michelle, was my client, she would brief me on executing a sponsorship. So whether it's a sponsorship of a TV show, for example, one of our clients is KFC, and they sponsor a lot of sport like cricket, and entertainment shows like Big Brother. So it's my responsibility to work with my internal teams to execute that. But we also do a lot of brand funded content, which is really fun. So I think one of my most favourite projects is when we produced a TV show for Westpac. It was called Air Rescue, and went for 5 series, and it was a documentary style drama. But it was really cool because not only because I got to travel around Australia and go up in helicopters and meet all the crew, but it was also just really fulfilling project because we were, you know, promoting a really good service and got to meet all the servicemen and women that, you know, work as part of the helicopter crew, and, you know, tell their stories and encourage donations to them. So I think more and more within my job, you know, I find fulfillment out of those sort of projects. And like we're working on like a project for a government client at the moment, just around promoting awareness and education around mental well-being. So even though, like, you know, within the job, within the job, you know, like you do get some perks, but like at the end of the day, like the ones that are most fulfilling are the kind of jobs that have like social impact. So I think, you know, my advice there is like, if you can't get those sort of jobs and whatever, you know, particularly when you're starting out, is always, you know, you can always, you know, pitch for that sort of work and, you know, or, you know, include it in a side hustle or something, you know, outside of work.
So do you have to, Maddie, do you have to like manage staff at your level? Like, is that, is that part
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. We've got, it was essentially like a content team in the media agency. So yeah, we've got like, I've got like a creative that I manage, and a partnerships manager. And then we've also got like a social arm of our team and an SEO, it's a search engine optimization. So yeah, we're kind of it's sort of like a mini creative agency within a media agency. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, it kind of, it's just such an ecosystem, right? So, you know, all of these kind of industries work really well together, and I guess it sounds like you're the glue that kind of brings things together and brings your clients' objectives to life. You know, that's just from what I took. So, you know, if we've got anyone that's sort of listening to this session today and they are, you know, they're like, right, you know, after listening to Maddie speak, I definitely know that I want to get into the advertising, you know, industry. What do you think, you know, what's one thing that they can do right now, like knowing that they've had no job experience, what's one thing that they can do to sort of, you know, to improve their chances of getting a job or getting hired after school?
It is really competitive, and you know, a lot of people will say, you know, it's all about who you know and you've got to get experience. But I think the main difference in advertising is really thinking about, you know, what your personal brand is, and you know, really being prepared in interviews and packaging up your, you know, portfolio, your CV in a certain way to really sell yourself. And I think and I think like you know, particularly for entry level positions, like, you know, it's very competitive. We get lots of applications, but I think, you know, if you're lucky enough to get to interview stage, most of the time, like half the things that hiring, anyone in a hiring positioning is looking for is your character at that level. And I think if you can really sell yourself and, you know, understand who you are, what your values are, why you want to get into advertising, you know, it's a really good help to kind of sell yourself as a good cultural fit to the company, because often that's really important. So I guess a key bit of advice, I mean, often sometimes it's good, like if you're looking at apply to a few companies, have a look at their, you know, social channels and get an understanding of, you know, is it the right sort of cultural fit for you? And if it is, then that's something you kind of talk to in your interviews and, really position yourself as a good cultural fit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's lots that we can all be doing to sort of, you know, improve your chances at, you know, getting hired, you know, all the way along your career. There's always opportunities to do that. So yeah, thanks for that. Well, I'm going to throw you some questions that we've got in the quick Q&A box. Starting with the first one from Kate, who Kate has said, how has your industry changed since COVID? It looks like that you're working from home. In the treetops.
I love this question, and it's a great opportunity to show off, because I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment and I've just moved to this amazing location. I don't know if you guys can see.
Oh,
yeah, I've just moved to an island. But yeah, it's a great question. I think, you know, even before COVID, like I think companies are sort of, you know, being under more and more pressure to, you know, kind of communicate what their competitive advantages are to work at those companies. And flexibility is a huge advantage. Like if you could find a company that is supportive of you working from home and allows you to, you know, work, the hours that you essentially want to work. I was fortunate enough, after having a lot of jobs where I was working very long hours and experiencing a lot of burnout, came to realize that no matter what projects I was working on, I really wanted to prioritize my lifestyle and mental health and well-being. So, I was lucky enough, like in this job, like we had a lot of flexibility already. Like I think we could work from home a couple of days a week, and I used to go into the office at like 7 a.m. and leave at 4. COVID's proved that even more. Like our team's talking about working from home permanently, even when restrictions do ease up a little bit. And I'm finding that's really consistent across the industry because of COVID. I think companies have set up the right tech to allow people to do that, and they're realizing the cost savings that they're having, like particularly in advertising. You get like expenses from taking clients out to lunch, travel expenses, go to their offices, lease. So companies are realizing, the benefits, and obviously to everyone's mental health as well, and giving them a little bit more freedom in their lifestyle. So I think COVID's had a huge positive impact on our industry from a working from home point of view.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I know that it's a crazy time at the moment, and perhaps a lot of our viewers can't see COVID as an opportunity at the moment, but really when you think about it, it's kind of like leveled the playing field. Like we're all just kind of in this new normal, and what's to say that you may be living in Melbourne but you actually want to study at the Uni of Sydney? Who's to say that you can't do that, or that you could actually apply for a job at a media agency based in WA?
Absolutely.
It's awesome. It's really it's definitely a sad and difficult time, but there is so many more opportunities that can come out of this stuff, when you're actually forced to make a change and to just go, do you know what is it that I actually really want to do? Like, why don't I just try to do that regardless of where you are? So thanks for that, Maddie. Another question is, I'm looking at studying at Bond Uni. Is that where you studied your degree?
I considered Bond. It's a beautiful campus. I ended up going to QUT because it was closer to home. So, and they offered like a business marketing course there. And I mean that was a while ago now. So it'd definitely be good to speak to the unis and understand what's a better fit for you. Like first, like those two unis. But I do have a few friends that went to Bond and loved it. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No, thank you for that. And our final question just before we hit your last question is that I'm nearly finished my degree. How can I actually get a job?
It's scary. It's honestly so. Look, it's tough, and it's a tough time. I think my advice, like in advertising, so it's not all bad at the moment because of COVID. Like there's clients that are actually doing better than ever. So one of our clients is eBay, and every day for them it's like Christmas deliveries. So the volume that they can usually get ordered through that platform is like every day for them at the moment. So there are particular industries that are doing really well, and I think understanding who they are and kind of targeting those sort of companies and the advertising agencies that work for those companies is really helpful. Also reaching out direct to agencies as well, because often there's always opportunities coming up in terms of jobs that they haven't necessarily got around to advertise yet because things are busy and everything. So I think the more that you can kind of build up relationships, even if they're not openly advertising. That's what I did. I kind of just reached out to a lot of people. I think in terms of industries, like if you we have tech clients that are doing really well at the moment. Anyone in the food industry is doing really well. Entertainment clients are doing really well. So I think maybe just focus on those ones because they're not the ones that are going to have job cuts like across the board. So
oh, awesome. Oh, thank you for that, Maddie. And I think, just before we let you go, I mean, I'm really, really interested in this question, which is something that we're asking a lot of our Q&As and a lot of our experts, such as yourself, is, if you could sort of, rewind the clock and give Maddie, 17, 18, 19-year-old Maddie just one bit of advice in regards to, the career that she would have, what would that piece of advice be?
I think one thing that I learnt recently was, there was a study that Princeton University did that proved that happiness does increase by the more money that you earn, but it does peak at $75,000 a year. So no matter how much more people make than $75,000 a year, it actually doesn't affect their happiness at all. So, I think my advice to myself and to anyone else, figuring out what they want to do is don't make a decision based on money. I think, at the end of the day, like you want to be brave and kind of follow what you're passionate about. Like I said, I think right now I really appreciate the flexibility that I have through my job, and it's given me the lifestyle that I want. And over the years, I've realised that's the most important thing to me. And I was, and still am, really ambitious with my career and throw way too much of myself into it. But I think once you've gone through a bit of burnout a few times and burn the candle, on both ends, you do appreciate that a little bit more. So, yeah, I think pursue a career that gives you the lifestyle you want and follow your passions.
Oh, amen. That's awesome. What a way to finish, Maddie. That was so fabulous. Thank you, because not only did you sort of touch on the advertising industry, but you've really kind of explained the eco structure within, where you work. And I think that's really important to give students visibility that they can, do a skill and potentially transfer over. And thank you so much for joining us at CareerCon, and for all of your help leading up to it. You're just an absolute superstar, and cannot wait to hear what happens to Maddie next in the next stage of her career. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Kira. This event wouldn't exist without you. And I think it's an amazing initiative. And yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to reach out on any questions, just let me know. I'm more than happy to give some advice. But yeah, Kira, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye.